Hello there, my name's Vince from My Mate Vince, and in this video today we're going to try and fix up this Bop It Extreme 2. Now, I don't need a Bop It Extreme 2 in my life, but I quite like the description of it. I bought it 40 on eBay and it said that it's had a severe battery corrosion and now it runs fast. So I've put batteries in it and sure enough, the volume seems low, but also it's really quick. I mean, I don't even think a professional would be able to do it. It'd probably be quite worth more in this state here because it might be more of a challenge if you're a pro at these things, if there's such a thing as a pro Bop It Extreme 2 player. But check this out. Ah. That was flick it, wasn't it? Gives you no time. Yeah, so I'm sure it shouldn't start like that. It does sound like it's going very high and also the volume is very low. So let's get straight into it. Let's take it apart and let's see what's going on. So I'm wondering, must be some sort of damage to or near the chip. That must have changed resistances or something to make it run so quick. So I think it should be an interesting one on the inside. Now I hope it all goes back together okay, because it's going to be a little bit challenging, I think, because of all the springs I can see around the place. So obviously this is a game that you try to get as far as possible, and I presume it gets quicker and quicker, but in this instance it seems to be starting off at the very top level. Right, judging by how hard the screws are to undo, I don't think this has been opened up before. So hopefully it might be fixable. Wow, it's got a headphone jack! So you don't have to listen to the sounds if you didn't want to annoy other people in the room. Right, here we go. Right, so we've got a speaker up here. Right. Springs. Now, hold on 1 second. Right, that goes there. Okay, fine. Oh, that's how the spin it thing works. Can you see there's a little arm in there and it moves up and it clicks when it goes down. So there must be a little micro switch over here because the arm comes down and goes across. Whoa. Right, well that was that arm I was talking about that goes in here. Goes around here. Now, because of that, it's going to be a little bit awkward, I think, to put back together, but hopefully we'll work it out. We have access to everything now, don't we? So look at that, it's all on the spring here. Whoa, 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 where did that go to? Oh, it's annoying, I don't even know how big that was. Right, bear with me. Right, I found it. Hopefully there was nothing else. So now, let's just look for corrosion to begin with. Let's zoom in. So the batteries were somewhere here. Right, well that's come off, so I need to solder that back on. We've got corrosion up here on these wires here. So let's unplug this and see if we can find out what's going on. Okay, so that's the switch there to press the button either way. Do you know what, this is going to be a nightmare to put back together. Right, what have we got? We've got a bit of corrosion here. Blob chip. Ah, look at the traces around here. Yeah, that trace doesn't... Oh no! It's going into the blob chip. I don't think it's going to be fixable. It looks like it's corroded on the way in. Right, okay, let me get some white vinegar. Don't think this is going to be repairable unless we can scrape away a bit of the epoxy, because the chip's only going to be in the middle. It's not going to be right the way to the very edge. So I wonder if I could chip away that without damaging it. Okay, well I thought it was going to be something to do with the chip. Let's get some white vinegar, spray all around here and the battery contacts here, and then what we can do is we can give it a good scrub with some IPA and see how many traces are actually damaged. So I've got my gloves on and I've got my white vinegar. Let's spray everything up and we can watch it fizz nicely. So as you've heard me say many times before, the reason you use white vinegar is because these batteries are alkaline batteries, and if you mix acid onto an alkaline, it neutralizes it. Look at that, you can actually see the traces coming away. Let's zoom in for that bit. And that's just with the vinegar on it. Look. I wonder, could it be, because these traces look intact, I wonder could it be just corrosion across the traces which was acting like some kind of weird resistor. Yeah, look at that all coming away here. Look at that. It really has had a severe leak. I mean, this is just encrusted in real deep. It's quite satisfying taking it off though. Right, before I worry about the board, I'm just going to try to melt up this corrosion a little bit and resolder it if possible. I'm not sure how much the corrosion spread up the wire. So you get the basic idea of this video now. It's just a whole load of cleaning. I'm amazed that the corrosion has caused so much damage to these terminals, bearing in mind that they were actually working. I don't know if I've seen terminals bubbled up so bad and still intact. You know, I've seen springs eaten away before, but this just seems to be like some massive chemical reaction that's just gone into a nice bubble fest of corrosion, but quite nice to scrape away. So I'm using my soldering iron here and just soldering wick to try to get rid of the old solder. I want to get back to the original metal so I can scrape that away and try to get a good contact on there. So what I have to do is I have to do this on all the terminals, and then I have to replace all the wires as well. I'll show you a wire in a moment where capillary action has sucked the corrosion all the way along it. So it's not just the terminals at the end, that corrosion sucks along the internal, the copper itself inside the insulation. So you might think the insulation looks okay, but the wire underneath is definitely not. Same thing happens with telephone cables when they're outside and then they go into a customer's property or outside, it doesn't matter where it is, capillary action doesn't care. If the sheath is damaged, you see, water will get into that and it will keep traveling along. So you would think that if you cut a bit of sheath off a cable and put it in a bucket of water, that it would only affect that bit there. It doesn't. It travels along inside. It's pretty amazing. And especially with telephone wires, it can travel for meters and meters, even going up as well, you know, against gravity, and it can make the socket inside the customer's property wet when the wall isn't damp whatsoever. It's actually coming via the cable. So I'll show you that in a minute. Yeah, I'll tell you what, let me show you that now. There you go. Can you see how black that is? Do you know what? It's going to have gone all the way, I reckon. Yeah, look at that there. Still black. And even there, it's still black. Not quite as black as the end, but that's gone all the way through. Yeah. So, or it's come from this side and from this side and met in the middle. But I think this side was more corroded. So we need to run a new wire from there to there. And it means I'm going to have to run new wires as well onto the board. Because the same thing's going to happen with these. It's going to have gone all the way through them. It's amazing that capillary action can fight gravity. I've never actually looked, I've never Googled it to see why that happens. But I presume it's not just on any wires, it must be anything to do with a tube. I wonder if you were then to put a very small tube, not a straw, but something smaller than that, into a pint of water and left it there for a week, would it start to overflow out the top? Interesting. Do you know what? I might do a YouTube search on that. I'm sure there's probably some geeky channels that have done some good information on it. Anyway, so what I have to do now is I've got to rerun new cables everywhere. I do have a whole set of different colour wires. The problem is the gauge is quite thin on them. And although it's only 4.5 volts because there's three 1.5 volt batteries in series, so 4.5 volts together, for some reason they've used quite thick gauge wires. So I'm sure my thinner gauge would work. And I don't believe that this sort of product runs out of batteries in 1 hour, so I presume it doesn't drain that much current. They have used thicker wires, and I don't know why that is. So rather than putting thinner wires that may possibly get hot, I am going to use thicker wires. The problem is I've only got one colour. So what I'll do is I'm just going to use little heat shrinks on it just to denote what colour it is. So I'll put a red one for the positive and a black one for the negative. Now all of this, it does take a very long time to do all of this. In reality, all this cleaning's taken well over 1 hour, but I don't need to show you that because it's kind of boring. I think the next thing I should show you is, which is the most interesting thing, is the mechanisms on each of them. How does the twist work? How does the spin work? You know, how does the flick and the pull work? I think that would be quite interesting to look at. Also, do you remember that spring that went flying out? Well, I found out where it goes. It goes here. It just goes into this bit here, the twisted bit. So that's good. So that just goes in to that bit. It's a bit fiddly. There we go. Excellent. Right, so when we twist that, yeah, and then it forces it back up again. Right, so now let me show you how this thing works. So it's very clever in that it's cheaply done, but yet I think incredibly durable, and also, in my opinion, quite ingenious. So although a lot of people be like, it's just a boring toy, the way they've done it, the way they've overcome the things, I think is quite good. So now, there's no fancy things like Hall effect sensors or anything like that. It's all just these tiny little micro switches, you know, these little push button ones that click when you press them in, yeah? So they are pennies, they're not expensive whatsoever. But look how it works. So my favorite one is the spin. So if you have a look here, it spins in a circle, but there's like this bit here that in a way makes this bit like a cam going up and down. And all it does is it's got this lever here which is pivoted just here, and it allows, when you're on the high bit here, to go down and click this button in here. So listen, listen, there, yeah? Isn't that clever? So when you spin it like that, yeah, it's going to kind of, you know, give it a good spin. It's going to have 2 high points, let's say, but it only needs 1 to register. So I really like that one there. This one here, so this one, if you can imagine, is kind of like a joystick, yeah? But all it's doing is doing this, and look, there's a little micro switch just here that it's pressing. So that's all it's doing, but it's a nice little motion. everything just feels really well made. You know, you know that that's going to last. I'd love to know how many, you know, like in IKEA, where they have something on a chair, like a machine pushing down on the chair to show how many times, how much bounces it will last. I'd love to know what these are rated for, because I would say they would be tens of thousands of uses. It's nice, isn't it? Anyway, right, this one down here, again, just very simple. You can see a little micro switch here, and when you pull that there, it pulls this thing here, that then clicks on here. This one's clever. So this is where the spring goes in here, and can you see how it's shaped? So when you twist this, what does it do? It moves the black down, because this yellow can't move down because it's stuck in here. So the only thing it can do is physically move this black down, and when the black moves down, boom, it goes down this way, yeah, and it hits this little micro switch just here. So it's nice, isn't it? Oh, and that's even on a little plunger as well. See, it's all just, it's all really, really nice. So that's it. Now, if you're mad enough to tackle one of these yourself, things that you need to note is that there's a little cutout here for the wires for the speaker. There's a little cutout just here, and there's a cutout here for the wires for the battery. You can see here that I've done my demarcation, the red and the black, so anybody in the future will know. Also, what I did is I painted all of the bottom of it, not in solder mask. Remember, most of it had come away. I just used green nail varnish, and now it's all gone nice and hard, because UV mask, in my opinion, would have taken too long with the UV light on it. So I just put green nail varnish on, and that's gone nicely there. And when it comes to this thing here, this can only go in one way round. So if you put this in and the circuit board feels like it's bending, it's because this bar going across here is nearer to the top than to the bottom. You can see in a way it's like an arch, like a bridge. Yeah, so it needs to go in that way. And then if you go this way, click, and that way, click, like that. I've also cleaned out all the switches with IPA as well, just in case corrosion was sat in there. And as far as I can see, it's all working. So I'm going to put it back together now, have a good few practices on it, and then I'll finish up the video. So basically, the interesting thought initially I thought was going to be, why is it running fast? I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think because the corrosion had gone between traces that were so close to each other that were actually going into the chip, the blob chip, it was recognised as being further along in the game. So you've seen how quick it was acting. Well, that's because it's, I think the resistances must have been doing something weird to the blob chip. So maybe it was starting at, you know, like a level 100 or something like that. Because now when I put batteries in it, the speaker seems nice and it seems a normal volume. So basically that I thought was going to be the interesting part, but it wasn't. It just needed cleaning. For me, the interesting part is the mechanism itself, and I hope you guys agree. So yeah, I'm going to put it back together now, and then we'll finish up the video with me playing Bop It Extreme 2. Okay, so there's been a fair bit of messing with this. It's all working absolutely perfectly, and there's different games you can play, and there's other nice little things you can do. Like, check this out.
Low, medium, high.
3 different volume levels, and you can do ones where it tells you what to do, like twist it, bop it, or you can have one with a beat where it doesn't tell you what to do, but each button's associated with a certain noise. Well, that is going to be pro level stuff. But anyway, behold the master at work. You can always also do one where you swap it between green and yellow for the different people playing, but I'm just going to do solo. After I think it's 15, or is it 16, the music changes. Now I know this sounds sad, but if you kind of get more into the beat of it, your brain doesn't get as flustered, and if you try to do the twists and the flick with the beat rather than doing it as quick as possible, you seem to relax more. It's a stressful game, but anyway, check it out.
Fox Bop, one-on-one. Fox Bop, solo.
That's the one I want.
Spin it. Bop it.
See what I mean?
Spin it. Pull it. Twist it. Bop it. Flick it. Pull it. Spin it.
Oh, come on.
4.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly fast forward through it until I want to get to 15 so you can hear the beat change.
Flick it. Pull it. Spin it. Pull it.
Yes, I've done it.
Flick it. Bop it.
Now, it's a little...
Bad. High score, 18.
It's the sort of thing that, personally, it drives me a little bit mad because it's a bit... I don't know. There's 5 things to remember, but it's amazing how hard that is. But you can kind of forget about Bop It, because when it's Bop It in the middle, your eye's drawn to the middle, so that's okay. So you just have to remember 4 things. But it is actually harder than it looks. But like anything, if you were to practice on it, it would be all right. It's the sort of thing which is going to be okay for a Christmas present for people of many ages. I think it's quite a nice device. So yeah, there we go. That is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up. See you soon, everyone.